Let me ask you a question. It sounds simple, but stick with me.
Imagine there's this old wooden ship. Over, say, 50 years, piece by piece, every single plank gets replaced. It looks the same, it sails the same, but not a single atom of the original is left. So, what do you think? Is it still the same ship? This one little question kicks off a huge philosophical puzzle about what makes something itself.
And this isn't a new problem, not by a long shot. The Greek historian Plutarch was writing about this exact thing thousands of years ago. He told the story of how the Athenians preserved the ship of their hero Theseus by replacing the old planks one by one. And it became this never-ending debate for philosophers. Did the ship stay the same, or did it become something new?
Okay, but this is where it gets really fun. Much later, the philosopher Thomas Hobbes came along and threw a wrench in the whole thing. He said, okay, what if someone was following the ship around, collecting all the old discarded planks? And then once the first ship is made of all new parts, this person takes all the original parts and builds a second ship.
So now you've got two ships. You have the one that's been sailing this whole time, but it's made of all new wood. And then you have this other one, freshly built, but made of every single original piece. Which one is the real Ship of Theseus? Which one gets the title?
Well, this whole mess basically forces us to decide what we think identity even is. On one hand, you've got the component theory. It says identity is all about the original physical stuff, the actual material. So for these folks, the reconstructed ship is the real one, no question. But then you have the continuity theory, which argues that what really matters is the unbroken story, the form, the function, the history. If you believe that, then the ship that kept on sailing is the true Ship of Theseus.
All right, let's leave the ancient world behind and jump into science fiction, because this paradox gets way, way more personal when we stop talking about ships and we start talking about you.
This is the famous teletransporter paradox. Imagine a machine that can scan your body down to the last atom. Then it disintegrates you, destroys you on Earth. And at the exact same moment, it uses that information to build a perfect replica of you on Mars using a fresh batch of atoms.
Now, the person who wakes up on Mars feels fine. They feel like they just took a step and ended up somewhere new. They remember your entire life, what you had for breakfast, everything. To them, and to everyone else, they are you. But did you actually survive that trip?
One answer is yes, of course you survived. This idea is called psychological continuity. It argues that you aren't your physical atoms. You are your memories, your personality, your thoughts, your mental pattern. And since that pattern continued unbroken in the copy on Mars, well, that's you. You just traveled.
But there is a much, much darker way to look at this. From another perspective, what happened was very simple. You were scanned, and then you were killed. And then a perfect clone of you was created somewhere else. The physical, biological chain of your life was broken. You didn't travel. You were replaced.
And this is where the philosopher who made this famous, Derek Parfit, came up with a really interesting idea. He suggested that maybe we're just asking the wrong question. Maybe our obsession with being one single continuous self is the problem. He said what really matters is just that psychological connection, that someone exists who is connected to you, whether you call them you or not. Now, if you think you've picked a side, let's throw a glitch into the system. This is where things get really chaotic, and it's pretty much designed to break any easy answer you might have settled on.
So, the machine scans you, it beams the data to Mars, and it creates your perfect replica over there. But then, whoops, it fails to complete the destroy step. So now there's a you on Mars, and there's still a you standing right here on Earth. This exact scenario actually happens in Star Trek. There's a transporter accident, and suddenly there are two William Rikers. At that first moment, they are identical in every single way. But one stays on the ship, and the other gets stranded on a planet for 8 years. When they meet again, they are clearly two different people, because they've had 8 years of totally different lives.
So let's go back to you. There's a you on Earth and a you on Mars. Who is the real one? You can't both be the one and only you. It just doesn't make sense. So what happened? Did you just multiply? Did one of you become a copy? Which one?
And you see, this isn't just a fun philosophical game anymore. This is a practical nightmare. Who gets your job? Who gets your money? Who goes home to your family? Our whole society is built on the simple idea that there's only one of each of us.
But here's the final twist. These crazy thought experiments,
They're not just for sci-fi. They get to the very heart of who you are, sitting there, right now.
You don't need a broken teleporter or a 2,000-year-old ship to run into this problem, because your own body is basically a slow-motion version of the Ship of Theseus.
That's right. Get this. Over the course of about 7 to 10 years, roughly 99% of the atoms that make up your body are swapped out and replaced by new ones. The physical stuff you're made of is constantly changing.
The process happening in your body is functionally the exact same as the ship's planks being replaced. It's just a lot slower. The physical you from 10 years ago is almost entirely gone, replaced by new matter. So, are you the original you, or are you a copy?
So let's end where we started, with a final question for you. Think about an old picture of yourself as a child. Are you that person? Or are you just the latest copy, psychologically connected to a person, a collection of atoms that has literally vanished? What exactly makes you, you?